Good evening, everyone. Hello, welcome. I know it has been quite some time, well, about a week since we met up. I am broadcasting for this meeting from a different location. In my time of trying to get myself together, dealing with COVID, my own personal mental health, I decided to check into a hotel in my city and just get away from my space and my familiarity, because I have been looking at the same four walls pretty much for the past year. At this point, it's a year now since COVID. So, tonight's a little different. But first I want to say hello to you far and wide. Hi, everyone. T is here. Barbara, Kelly. Hi, undisclosed location. Hi, Jennifer. Hey. No, Teresa, you're not late. So we got quite a few things to talk about tonight. There have been some developments, some which were a surprise to me, some which shouldn't be a surprise to some of you. But we have a lot to talk about. I want to really highlight outside of, the meat and potatoes of what's been happening in the country. But I really want to take time to talk about mental health and COVID and dealing with it, because I feel like it's something that we haven't really talked about much, and it's really, really affecting a lot of people. But to start off, of course, the elephant in the room is the Biden administration bombing Syria. Of course, this has been met with claims of hypocrisy from both right and left-leaning people. Me being someone who obviously voted for Joe Biden, I have questions. And I did do some research on this because I wanted to see what the ideology behind it was. At the end of the day, the United States is going to be the United States. I feel like that's going to be the case no matter who's sitting in the chair. Now, granted, we had someone who was completely mentally unhinged sitting in the chair for the past 4 years. But that's not to say that there are not certain things in place outside of the president that still gets done. So, long story short, Joe Biden bombed Syria. Now, the reason why, from reports and what the White House put out for their statement, the reason why they bombed Syria was because of Iran-backed attacks on, U.S. military personnel and contractors and things like that, right? That was the whole reason that the Biden administration felt the need to bomb Syria. And also a U.S. contractor got killed, and I believe one other person. Here's my first thing with that. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of this. And even though this happens a lot, and I can't, sit and say, oh, I was so aware 5 and 10 years ago, because I wasn't, okay? I wasn't as in-depth with my knowledge as I am now, but now I am. So I have questions, right? And my question is, yes, it is terrible when a U.S. citizen or countryman who's serving their country, goes out and dies, protecting their country and working for their country. But I'm very perplexed by one or two people, and not to say that those people's lives aren't important, but because one or two people got killed, it's necessary to bomb whole areas. That is crazy to me. Y'all can't do a plane drop of special agents and, do some James Bond shit and just snuff out a few people if you want to do that, if you have to have recourse. I think bombing, and I'm not this huge military strategist, right, of course, but I think bombing is so extreme. It's so like, wow, you had to do that. So that's the reason why the bombing happened. Now, of course, you know, the U.S. under the Trump administration pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal, which was basically where Iran, you know, would do certain things, disarm their nuclear program and this, that, and the third, and the U.S. would, you know, lift sanctions and things like that. Well, of course, you know, like I said, we pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal, and that was under the Trump administration. Now, Iran was keeping to the deal, and I say that with air quotes because I'm not sitting here acting like Iran is this like terribly innocent country, because they're not. But they kept to the deal for the most part from what, you know, was said. The Trump administration put hella sanctions on them, and the reality is Iran really want some of those sanctions lifted before they come back to the deal. Now, that deal is called the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, aka the Iran nuclear deal. And so Iran, of course, wants some of the sanctions lifted so that we can get back in this agreement, you know, this, that, and the third. The Biden administration, and I've read up on this, and I looked at a few interviews and like reports and things. The Biden administration is basically saying, well, we had a madman in office as the United States president for the last 4 years, so everything that he did, that don't really pertain to us. We should be coming in with a clean slate, right? And I think that that's a poor position to take. And yes, I am criticizing the Biden administration in this. I'm very fair, right? That's a poor position to take. And here's why. Because when you're the boss, okay, you're the boss now, Joe Biden, okay, you still rep the company, okay? Look at it like this. McDonald's is always going to be McDonald's, okay? When people say, oh, I had a terrible experience at McDonald's, they don't say that manager at McDonald's. They say McDonald's. When people have a problem with the business or a customer service issue, and I'm using that because that's what I understand, they don't say, oh, Target was, the manager at Target was trash. They say, girl, I'm never shopping at Target. I'm never shopping at Circuit City, for all you old bitches. That's how people look at it. And that's how this is looked at through the scope of the United States. Biden, you don't get to pick and choose what we're responsible for. This is America, okay? This is America, okay? That's what it is. Like, no matter, yes, you have to play cleanup and you have to play nice, but that's your job. You can't just say, oh, that was him, that's not me. No, he represented us. So you have to deal with that. So he feels like we should have a clean slate and this, that, and the third. Now, Iran is basically saying, look, you know, y'all left the deal. We didn't leave the deal. Then y'all put these sanctions on us where we couldn't get shit in, certain shit in, this, that, and the third, things of that nature, right? So we shouldn't be the one. The United States, the Biden administration essentially wants Iran to come to the table and say, this is what we're going to do for the deal first before the United States initiates engagement. And in my personal opinion, I just don't think that that's fair. Okay? I just don't think that that's fair. Okay? And some people say, you know, they don't disagree. Biden didn't have anything to do with it. Biden, you're the boss. That's my personal opinion. You're the boss. Once again, the United States is a corporation at this point. You represent McDonald's, bitch. Just because a manager did some fuck shit, you have to make up for what that manager did. That's not everybody else in the world's fault that we decided to, or most of the country, or half of the country, or the electoral college, however you want to slice it. It's not these other countries' fault that our process elected Donald Trump into office. So you can't pick and choose what the country's government should be blamed for. You just have to correct it. Okay? You have to correct it. You have to take that responsibility. It's not, you can't pick and choose which things the country is responsible for. That's just being a leader. in general. You know, I think that I understand that there may be frustration because there is going to be a lot of cleanup. But let's face it, Joe Biden, you were elected to be the cleanup president, sis. Like, that's essentially going to be your job for most of your term. You're going to be Mr. Clean. And, you know, you have to do that. Like, that's going to be what you are at this point. You know, we know that. I've been saying that, you know, in these meetings for the past year, throughout election season. You're the cleanup man. You are not the change president. You're not the president that's going to take us into new heights and new innovations. You are the stop the bleeding / clean up the mess president. That's what somebody said, he the janitor. That's what you are. So I think here's the thing. I think that while we do have to maintain our interests across the world, I think sometimes we like to take the good and not the bad that comes with that. If you're going to be the world's police, you're going to be the world's police when it's good and the world's police when it's bad. So you have to take that. So that's essentially what's going on there with that. And I feel like do I think that this is a mistake on the Biden administration? Like, is this something catastrophic? No, I don't. I don't think it's catastrophic. I don't think that it's something that, you know, we can't bounce back from or move forward from. But I definitely feel like, especially as it pertains to this Iran deal and, you know, Iran developing their nuclear technology, which, quite frankly, with us being out of an agreement for this long, they probably done had hell of a head start. They probably in the building with all the nuclear missiles and shit. They probably going to fuck off. And honestly, I don't blame them. And here's why. While I am a proud, you know, citizen of this country, well, I don't want to say proud, but while I am a citizen of America, I'm also a citizen of, we love in this country to tell other people what they need to be doing. And that goes from the government level to the personal level, right? We love to tell people what we need to be doing, what they need to be doing. And for a country that couldn't follow mask orders, for a country that can't agree on anything at this point for shit, for a country whose citizens just stormed the Capitol building, we can't really be telling these other countries what they should and need to be doing. Because quite frankly, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. And I'm not a terrorist sympathizer by any means, so Facebook don't try it. But if I'm Iran or any of these other countries, and I'm looking at Donald Trump's crazy ass on TV for 4 years, and all of the crazy, erratic shit that he's doing, I would beef up my nuclear program too. I would beef up my national security too. You can't get mad at people for that. Why should one country be able to have all of this shit, but the other country, no, you can't have it because y'all brown people and y'all erratic and y'all don't know what's going on. Fast forward, most of the terrorism that happened in this country, most of the hardship and violence that you face in this country do not come from foreign nationals. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. It doesn't. Like, we didn't see Iran storming the Capitol building. We just didn't see that. All of these different things going on. We don't see foreign nationals. Iran didn't cause the Texas power grid to just go down and be a fucking embarrassment. You don't see terrorists on TV saying that we're going to keep people in the dark in the snow and shit and they just need to deal with it. That's elected government officials in America. So I think we need to chill and we need to focus on rebuilding our reputation and getting back to where we need to be before we so worried about, like, buying. You just got an office, niece. You got children hungry on Zoom classroom sessions talking about they starving. You got an infrastructure system here in America that's outdated as hell and crumbling like a bitch. Okay? You have so much going on. You have people behind on their bills and rent. You got a vaccine rollout, and we're going to get to that. That's absolutely horrible. This shit is the fucking Hunger Games. We need to be focusing on that, sis, before we worried about what these people doing and all this, that, and the third. Okay? Somebody said we third world, and I feel like it. No shade. No shade. Now, the stimulus bill, bitch. So, the stimulus bill is going to be $1.9 trillion. Something crazy, right? Stimulus package. And the stimulus bill, here's the thing. And, you know, I went off about this before. Reading the stimulus bill as a single person, it don't mean shit to me. I'm going to be honest with you. But it's great for people, you know, with kids and families and things like that, for if you own like a business and, you know, all of that good. But the average everyday person, like, you're not getting shit. If you don't have any kids, if you don't have like an arts business or something like that, you're not getting shit. Okay? So, with this new stimulus bill, let me pull out my notes, bitch. With this new stimulus bill, families that make less than 200,000 are getting $1,400. So this is basically had the other end of that 2,000 that they initially wanted to do, but then you only got 600 on Christmas. But then that 1,400 for the families, that decreases. If you're like under 75, over 75K, it starts to like go down or something like that. If you're a single person making less than 100K, you're going to get 1,400, but you have the max to get 1,400. But after 75K, that kind of goes down, it dwindles, right? Unemployment, okay? So unemployment, you're going to get an extra $400 on your check. And this is supposed to go through August the 29th. So if you want unemployment, in addition to your regular unemployment benefits, okay, you're going to get an additional $400 on top of that, should the bill pass the Senate, which is looking like it is going to pass the Senate, through August the 29th. If you're getting EBT, food stamps, the card, bitch, the 1st and the 15th, you're going to get a 15% increase through September instead of June, because the program was slated to end for the benefits through June. Should this bill go through, you're going to get it through September, so you'll get the 15% increase. Also, too, for those parents who are receiving pandemic EBT for their children in schools. So, you know, schools were closed. If your kid was getting free or reduced lunch, you qualified to get EBT, food stamp benefits, since the children were at home. So that's going to be extended through the summer should the bill go through. Okay? $19.1 billion for back rent, mortgage, and utility bills. So $10 billion of that 19.1 is going to people who are behind on their mortgage, property taxes, utility bills. Those funds are being sent to your states and local agencies to assist with that. So if you're behind on your mortgage and things like that, your rent, you'll get that piece of it. Also, $5 billion to help with housing, homelessness, and things like that. For people with kids, once again, I mean, it's like I love y'all. But for people with kids, the child tax credit. So when you file your taxes this year, the child tax credit, you're going to get, $3,600 for each child under 6. So you get a tax credit of $3,600 for each child under 6 and $3,000 for each child under 18 versus $2,000 per child under 17. So you're basically going to get about $1,000 to a $1,600 bump in your tax credit. If you have kids, you would have had to file taxes. No shade. To do that. As someone pointed out in the comments. Oh, hi, Uncle Porky. Shout out to my Uncle Porky as well. He's in the comments as well. Hey, Roz. Now, the big discussion was this $15 minimum wage increase, okay? The $1,500 minimum wage increase. Now, there was a big to-do about this because they really wanted this to get through, but the reality is it's not going to happen, okay? So, Elizabeth McDonald, who is the Senate parliamentarian, for those of you who do not know, the Senate parliamentarian is basically the referee of the Senate. It's the person that is familiar with all these backdoor, old-ass rules about budget reconciliation in the Senate and all those laws and what they can and cannot do. She basically said, look, bitch, y'all can't just pass this bill inside of this stimulus bill for the $15 minimum wage. It's not going to work. You can't do it. We're not doing this, okay? So the $15 minimum wage increase, it's not going to happen. But the thing with that is, by that not being in the bill, the likelihood of the bill getting passed in the Senate, which it is anyway, it just makes it that much easier for it to go through. But here's my thing, and we're going to get into these COVID vaccines in a minute. My thing is, while it's great that, they're pushing this through, and I understand, this is a country of capitalism. And, in some ways, and I'm going to be very honest with you, this is just my personal opinion, I think you actually were probably better off in a country where certain things aren't capitalistic, and it's kind of like the government has a more structured influence on how things are done. Because honestly, living in the United States feels like the Wild Wild West. I think if you didn't learn anything from the COVID era, is that when shit really go down, and yes, we can say maybe it's the president, maybe it was because we had Trump, and I do think that he definitely played a part in it. But when shit really go down, I don't feel like the country's really going to be there for you here. I just don't think that this country will be here for you. This is a country of, make it work. The United States is very much of, you can be huge. Like, either you got a lot of fucking money or either you got a little bit. It's to the point where it's no in between. And if you don't have it, and you've seen this from the mayor in Texas with the power grid situation, you got to fend for yourself. I highly recommend that you have multiple streams of income. I went to a high school that was a vocational technical high school. So one thing that I love about going to a trade high school that didn't necessarily prep us for college per se, it wasn't like the focus. Trade schools, at least in my city, taught us how to run businesses. It taught us how to have practical streams of income. It didn't teach us how to work the stock market. It taught us how to set up bakeries, auto mechanic shops, things like that. And I used to be so angry about that. I'm going to be honest with you. We're going to deviate just a minute here. But I think this is a teacher moment. I used to be so angry about that because college wasn't pushed to me. And especially, I went to a high school here named Mercantile Vocational Technical, senior high school here in Baltimore. And college wasn't pushed to us, but surviving was pushed to us. And I used to be so mad about it because you would see like people on TV because they sold college. Like college was sold here in America. Like it was selling, go in the debt, get your degree, bitch. Your life gonna be great. And fast forward, I'm actually better off than a lot of people that went to college. Not saying that you should not do college. Send your kids to school. But I'm actually doing better, surviving, living my life, and actually in some ways thriving because I have that, business acumen, create multiple streams of revenue. I have friends from high school who have something as simple as vending machines. I'm getting ready to invest in 2 vending machines for myself to put into local businesses and things like that because I know I can't depend on one stream of revenue. But I learned that from trade school. I learned how to sell candy, dinners, whatever you need to do in trade school. Like I have friends who are plumbers, mechanics, who are doing better than scholars right now because the jobs aren't there. But guess what? And I'm going to say this, if you are a teenager watching this and you feel like I don't have the grades or because I didn't do this, that, or the third, I'm not going to be shit, let me tell you something. People always going to need a plumber. The plumber taxes the fuck out of you. Plumbers actually turn jobs down because they got more than enough work. Somebody always going to need an electrician. People always going to pay to get their hair done, even in the pandemic or even in tough times because they want to feel good about themselves. People always going to need to eat. There's always a career in that. So don't feel bad if you didn't get your degree because if anything I've learned in this pandemic, some of the people who are doing the best right now are the people with skilled trades. And I think that we as a society and as a country need to get back into teaching skilled trades. You know who didn't suffer in this pandemic, but they stressed out, so they earned their coins? A fucking nurse. You don't see nurses in fucked up vehicles. You don't see nurses talking about, I can't pay my rent. You don't see surgical techs talking about, oh, I'm behind on the electric. You don't hear them saying that. In some cases, because of the way the pay scales work, there are nurses making more money than doctors. So get you a skilled trade, whether it's IT. You know who really ain't complaining right now? IT professionals. They are killing. This is an IT dream. Microsoft Teams, Zoom. IT dream. Everybody needs an IT specialist. If you're going to school for IT or you're working in IT right now, you are doing phenomenal. Bottom line. It is what it is. So I think we need to get back into skilled trades. Now, with this COVID vaccine situation, first off, of course, we all know the COVID vaccine rollout is fucking terrible, okay? It's fucking terrible. Now, fortunately for me, I live in a state and in a city, even though Larry Hogan tried it, saying that it looks like Baltimore City got more than their allotment for vaccines because Larry Hogan, while he did do some nice things during the pandemic, notoriously does not like Baltimore City, right? So I'm fortunate, and shout out to our mayor, Brandon Scott, who is also, we graduated in the same high school class from Mervo that is not, that is a trade school. And from a trade school, we got our new mayor. Okay, I just want to point that out. But I am fortunate and blessed to live in a state like Maryland, in a city like Baltimore, where honestly, I'm gonna tell y'all a brief story while we're getting into this COVID situation. Before COVID, I was actually slated to move to Los Angeles. And you know, I was excited. I was ready for this new change, pursuing my career in entertainment. You know, I was ready to go. Then COVID hit, and I was like, I'm going to wait a little bit. And in hindsight, I'm so glad I stayed because, to be honest, I don't think I would have wanted to live in any other city or state during the COVID era. Now, is Maryland perfect? Absolutely not, right? But in this case, it wasn't New York. It wasn't Los Angeles. It wasn't Atlanta. It damn sure wasn't Florida. Our rollouts for a lot of shit was better. And just dealing with the pandemic, we're not overcrowded, especially in Baltimore, because everybody left Baltimore. Oh, Baltimore's terrible to crime. That's that and the third. So we wasn't on top of each other. And honestly, I couldn't have picked a better place to live during the pandemic. Like, I am thankful that I have a COVID vaccine appointment. And I'm looking at some of these horror stories. It's really like the Hunger Games. If you're like in the New Yorks of the world and some of these other places, it is the Hunger Games. And it's absolutely terrible what's going on with this vaccine rollout. You would think that, and granted, some of it is from them not buying enough vaccine from certain companies and things of that nature, but you would think that it was like a third world country, the way that this is rolling out. And to a certain degree, you know, there are certain statistics out there to say America is still doing pretty good with it. But I just feel like the level of organization, like they have all of these groups. Now, each state has their own, you know, rollout. You're in group 1C, 2A, which first of all, that's confusing. Okay, that's confusing in itself. You're confusing the public with all these different tier groups. You got one group where if you work in the college cafeteria, you get the vaccine. But if you work at the electric company, you go into people's houses, you're not eligible for the vaccine. If you got cancer, you get the vaccine. But if you got AIDS, you can't get the vaccine. But if you got this, like, it's confusing as shit. I think just the verbiage and the grouping of it all, and it's just my personal opinion from my experience. And I just think that it's crazy. Literally, I went on CVS's website, because CVS now has the vaccine here in Maryland, and it was like buying Beyonce tickets. It's like one of them sneaker raffles and shit. Like, if you've ever bought like the hot new sneaker offline off of sneakers or something like that, it's like that. You literally will click schedule appointment. It'll show you the appointment. You go to confirm that bitch is gone. No more appointments. You go to the other state websites. All of the appointments are gone. People are just like, it's crazy to me how this rollout is. So a friend of mine happened to advise me. They was like, you know, go down to the, we have here in Maryland, M&T Bank Stadium, where our Ravens play. And so the National Guard, first of all, this is like some post-apocalyptic, like, movie shit. Never in my life would I think that I would be going to a stadium where the National Guard is signing people up to get a vaccine from a global pandemic. Right? That in itself is crazy. So I go down there, bitch, and I'm like, I couldn't get an appointment online. They're like, all right, come in here, we'll try to get you one. Thankfully, I was able to get one. So for those of you who are trying to get the vaccine here in Maryland, in the city of Baltimore, you may want to try just going down in person to the stadium and actually getting your appointment and doing it that way if you pre-qualify for those, whatever group they're in. Every group is different in every state, it seems like. But yeah, it's crazy. So they also did approve the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is a one-shot vaccine. today. So that's good to go. So you're going to see that 1-shot rollout. I'm supposed to be getting the Pfizer 2-shot joint. So I'm kind of happy with that. I don't know about Miss Johnson & Johnson. I haven't seen what her side effects are. But I am very happy to be getting my Pfizer shot, bitch, because this has got to go. Now, the thing is this, we got to stay on top of this, guys, because there are variants out there, and then you got this variant. I don't know what the fuck is going on in California. They got this variant in California that is specifically a California variant, which I find strange and just like so disappointing. So we got to look out for that. But I just think, I feel like everything that we yell at on TV about these disaster movies, we have done them all. From food hoarding, supply hoarding, to not following directions, to going and sending our children back in school. The mayor of Washington, D.C., her sister died from COVID on the 24th of February. You know, like, people are still dying from this. This is still a thing. For all of you folks that are in the club down south and all that, this is still a thing, you know? And I hope that people come to grips and do what they need to do. I'm not going to lie to you. At first, I was very, like, about the vaccine because it came so quickly. But at this point, I have to think about my life, and I encourage you to think about yours. And the reality is, if the goal is I'm not planning on having any kids anyway, so if that was the goal, bitch, joke's on you, United States government, because I wasn't planning on reproducing any goddamn way. But if you do that, if you get the shot, a lot of people have had varying reactions. Some people say they were absolutely fine. Some people say the second shot is what put them down if they got the Moderna. It's a lot of different things and a lot of different opinions with the shots and things like that. But I definitely encourage you to do what you feel is best for you. But what's best for me, bitch, is I'm going to get my fucking shot. With that being said, as always, it is a pleasure. If you want to follow the channel on YouTube, you can do that on youtube.com/Secretary of Shade. You can also follow me on social media at DapperDamitis. You can also contribute to the channel via Venmo or Cash App with the same handle. As always, I love you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining me on my sabbatical. I figured I'd do it from, my staycation and my mental break and sit and talk with you all. But with that being said, you have a great evening, a great start to your work week, and I will see you soon. Peace and love.